Hey everybody, in this video we're going to talk about Bitcoin. We're going to talk about Cleanspark. We have an analyst expecting 100% upside. I think that's child's play, but we'll look at it. We're going to look at Bitcoin sentiment, which dropped to a yearly low. This is a great sign. And we'll also take a look at what's going on with the spot Ethereum ETFs. Have things been getting better there? We know when they were first launched, we saw nothing but outflows due to grayscale. And I hardly ever say this, but I probably should. If you guys appreciate my content, make sure you like, subscribe, ring the notification bell, and let's get started. Now look at this. Bitcoin social sentiment drops to a yearly low, signaling a Bitcoin breakout. And following the 10% correction we recently had, social media sentiment around Bitcoin has fallen to its lowest level of 2024. And this low retail investor sentiment could be a sign of incoming Bitcoin breakout. Vocal traders are now showing severe FUD. Fear, uncertainty, and doubt. And that's good news for contrarians who know markets move in the opposite direction of retail's expectations. Amen. Bitcoin's further drop has sent the crowd into their highest FUD spiral of the year, significantly raising the likelihood of a bounce. And you can see 4 positive comments for every 5 negative comments. We are down here at the bottom. This yellow choppy looking barcodey thing is down at the bottom. Last time that happened, we did see a massive spike on price. You see the price there popping off. See the price there popping off. The last time we saw something similar, August 4th, positive comments were more scarce than negative comments. And then July 4th, positive comments more scarce than negative comments. This is the lowest it's been this year. And check this out. This is something else interesting that was mentioned in another article. I think I didn't mention it to you guys though. On December 20th, when we started having that big pullback, Bitcoin's daily chart produced 3 consecutive red candles in a row. And this was the first time since the first week of November, which was the lead up to the election results. Here's a nice picture from the analyst Elja Boom. This was on a December 20X post. You can see, look at this is 2 cycles ago, I believe. Here's an $11,000 Bitcoin, if I'm not blind. We had the breakout, the upward consolidation, another breakout, consolidation. We're seeing a very similar thing. Right now, we're at the bottom of this chart pattern. All we need is a good bounce and a breakout to new all-time highs. Bitcoin likely goes parabolic. In 2017, week 7 as well as week 8 and 9 were corrective. In 2021, week 6 and week 8 were corrective. Bitcoin's currently in week 7, slowly transitioning into week 8. Now let's look at what's happening with Ethereum. Ethereum ETFs of course saw a major outflow. On the day that Bitcoin recorded some record outflows, Ether also recorded some outflows, a $60 million outflow. But let's get some context here. Just like with Bitcoin and its 15-day streak, Ethereum was on a streak as well. This one was larger. This one was an 18-day positive inflow streak. And we finally saw a net outflow. And just like with BlackRock's IBIT, BlackRock's ETH reported 0 flows that day as well. Despite this, spot ETH ETFs have collectively accumulated 2.4 billion in net positive flows since they launched. So after initially seeing actual outflows and negative flows because of grayscale earlier in the year when this was approved, we're finally getting to positive overall inflows for ETH. The tide has been turning. I'm going to quickly look at ETH on the chart, then we're going to look at Cleanspark, and I'll show you what I'm seeing on the chart. Now, Ethereum wise, it's going to be important to hold up this ascending trend. One thing with Ethereum is a couple days ago, not that long ago, we saw a golden cross in early December. Hopefully this maintains. If we say bounce off the 200 MA, continue upwards, I do think we're going to keep this golden cross. This might be the last golden cross of the cycle until we see a death cross much later, pretty much wrapping everything up. One thing everybody's basically watching on ETH is a breakout to new all-time highs. Last time we did that previously, going off of the 2017 cycle into the 2020 cycle, when we broke that previous all-time high, ETH didn't look back. It went absolutely parabolic. We're waiting for that again. Once ETH can break 4,800 area, I do think it goes parabolic. And I do think this is a great time to load up on Ethereum, to load up on the alts. There's no better time than now, in my opinion. Unless you had a time machine, of course. And maybe you can be patient, look for another pullback on ETH, look for a drop down to the 200 MA at $3,000, the psychological 3,000. Buying there would be fantastic in my opinion. But, you know, overall, I think Ethereum is going to trend up and to the right, like we have seen overall. In terms of risk on the long term, I think ETH is relatively low risk on the long term. ETH for the past 4, almost 5 years has been following a very clear uptrend. You'll see that this support level never gets broken. And as I said in one of my last videos, I think at our crypto winter low, we will test this ascending support level. And by then, it could be a $3,000 support. In the bottom of the bear market, ETH could be a $3,000 crypto. Maybe it goes lower, but that's my suspicion. Because say it runs to 10,000, say it runs to 8,000. And that has, you know, a 70-80% pullback, bringing it back to this $3,000 level. I think that's a very good likelihood. All right, now let's look at Cleanspark. I will leave this article down below for you. But they're basically saying, is Cleanspark the crypto stock with the biggest upside potential? And long story short, they basically believe it's some AI stock that's going to do better. But they also mentioned Cleanspark in a positive light. According to this article, Cleanspark ranks second for them, behind some random AI stock that they won't mention and they want you to click on another article. So no, I'm not going to do that. But I'll leave it down below if you want to go down that rabbit hole. Cleanspark as a company is benefiting from a sustained growth trajectory, as reflected by their financial performance of 2024, fiscal 2024. They generated more than $378 million in revenue, up from $164 million reported in fiscal 2023. There's a 125% year-over-year growth, and they're not done yet by any means. Since last year, the company added more than 425 megawatts to their operational power capacity, bringing their total portfolio to over 726 megawatts as of fiscal Q4 of 2024. They also attained a threefold increase in their total hash rate, which now stands at more than 33 exahash. And they're on the path to attaining their 37 exahash per second. Now, I personally think 100% from here is child's play, and it will do much more than that by the end of the cycle. And 100% from here doesn't even bring it back to its previous 52-week highs. One thing about these Bitcoin miners cycle to cycle is once they break out of their previous highs of the cycle, they do go parabolic right around this time in the cycle. Look at last cycle where Cleanspark was in December 2020. Once it breaks past those previous highs that were set earlier in the cycle, it goes parabolic, and this happened, in mid to late December. Once we break this 25, in my opinion, we go parabolic. And I think we have a reason to do so. We have a positive earnings expected, a record quarter for revenue, all-time best revenue they have ever seen in history ever, and expected to move back to profitability. This is one thing is, like I said before, I'll say it again a million times, this is when Cleanspark went parabolic. Cleanspark was 370 something. At the bear market lows, it was 174. But see, when they got that positive earnings, that's when things really got exciting. They reported a non-GAAP positive earnings on this quarter. They reported a non-GAAP and GAAP positive earnings on this quarter. And this quarter here was a positive earnings across the board, non-GAAP and GAAP. So 3 quarters in a row, basically, they saw some profitable quarters before the halving cut rewards in half and knocked the Bitcoin miners down a peg. This earnings, this positive, getting a surprised earnings, a surprise profitable quarter, when the estimate was not a profitable quarter, when they got that, that is when we went absolutely crazy. The market pulled back a bit. Cleanspark clearly got overheated on the RSI. Not only that, but we saw bearish divergence. The RSI topped out much before the price topped out. The RSI was already cooling down when the price topped out. Cleanspark sold off a bit, but then they had another profitable quarter when it was estimated to not be. And this caused an absolute crazy rally from about $7 all the way to about 25. Huge gaps along the way, breakaway gaps, and we do have one left to fill potentially down in the 7s, but we did fill our breakaway gap that I thought we weren't going to fill back down at the 11s. We did end up filling that. Yes, I could be wrong, and it definitely won't be the last time. Now, Cleanspark did break its ascending trend. Maybe we see more negative reaction, but here's something to look at. We did just literally fill our gap that was made in early November. Maybe that's all Cleanspark needs to go and continue onwards and upwards, or maybe we really want to fill this gap down here in the 7s, which I find extremely unlikely. I personally do think we're going to fill this gap next cycle in the bear market, and we have done this in previous cycles where we have some gaps that we end up refilling in next bear market winter. They don't necessarily all have to get filled right this second. Sometimes it can take years. And another thing I'm watching for is this kind of a long-term descending resistance. We have hit it a couple times. Maybe we get a reaction on this though. But if we can break $20, $18 within a month or two, I do think we're going to see a reaction on that. And that could be what takes us towards 25. The breakout of that brings us parabolic. I think honestly the market is waiting for these Bitcoin miners to get back to profitable quarters. They don't want to see them burning cash. They don't want to see dilution. And I don't blame them. Cleanspark in their upcoming earnings, which is the quarter we just got through or almost got through, Q4, they're reporting that quarter in February. This is the quarter ending in December. This is when Bitcoin went crazy. This is when Bitcoin went from like the 50, 60,000s, when most of the Bitcoin miners were reporting forward guidance, and it rallied all the way up to 100,000. Many of these Bitcoin miners reported forward guidance when Bitcoin was 60, 70, 80,000. Many of these Bitcoin miners, in my opinion, are going to report surprise profitable quarters, just like they did earlier in the cycle, and things went parabolic. To me, this is the time to be loading up on them. You accumulate during the crypto winter, continue to DCA in the early stages of the cycle, and plan to trim at the late stages of the cycle. To me, we are not looking at the tops on these Bitcoin miners. There is not a snowball's chance in hell that 25 was the top for Cleanspark. We're about to be entering profitable quarter after profitable quarter. Even if Bitcoin dips down to the 80,000s, these Bitcoin miners are still going to be reporting profitable quarters. Do you think Bitcoin is just going to hover under 100,000 through the rest of 2025? I don't think so. I do think these Bitcoin miners are going to be reporting quarter after quarter of profitability throughout a good part of 2025, if not even early 2026. There is no reason that with these Bitcoin miners accumulating more Bitcoin, which is going to go up in price, these Bitcoin miners building up their cash balances because of profitable quarters, the likelihood of less dilution because of profitable quarters, there's no reason that these Bitcoin miners aren't going to run in 2025. Here's another Bitcoin miner I'm watching that I think is a great buy, a great dip buy here. It is bouncing. It is right at its 200 MA. And we did see a big reaction on the break of the 50 MA and the break of this ascending trend. These are the times you want to buy. A lot of people were asking about BTBT back when it was $4 and $5. Should I buy BTBT? It's ran up a bit, but I want to get in. Why aren't you interested when it's down? When there's fear? These are the times you want to panic buy. You don't want to panic buy at the top. You want to panic buy at the bottom. You don't want to panic sell at the bottom. You want to panic sell at the top. It's hard to get through that psychology of wanting to buy while it's low because there's obviously that fear that it's just going to keep going lower and lower and lower. And obviously when you're buying something that's red a day after day, you see money draining out of your account, you see the value of the stocks going lower and lower. It's definitely a worrisome feeling, but it's something you have to train yourself for. When you see massive gains, that's not when you want to be buying, that's when you want to be trimming. When retail is very bearish on the Bitcoin miners, when retail's bearish on Bitcoin, bearish on the alts, that's when you want to be getting in and buying. When people that normally don't talk about crypto are suddenly talking about crypto, that's probably when you want to be a little cautious. But what are your guys' plans for this cycle? Are you going to continue to DCA in Bitcoin over the long haul? Do you have a set plan on selling Bitcoin specifically? Are you going to hold Bitcoin forever, get rid of the alts and the Bitcoin miners, other Bitcoin plays when the time is right? Are you going to hold everything over the long term? And I personally do think it's a good idea to be out of the Bitcoin miners and out of the alts before crypto winter approaches. But as for Bitcoin, I will always hold Bitcoin. Although it probably would be smart to trim considerably when we think we're at the top. For me, Bitcoin is just a long-term buy and hold, buy and hold. But let me know your guys' strategies, how you're feeling about the Bitcoin miners lately. How are you feeling about Bitcoin and alts? Do you think we're about to approach that massive next move? Remember, in past FOMCs, we see this knee-jerk reaction to the downside, and then shortly after, we see a nice recovery, a nice run. This has happened in past FOMCs throughout this year. Don't be surprised if we see it again. But anyways, thanks as always for watching, guys. Have a good one, and I'll see you tomorrow.